Hi there, my name's Adrian, and in this lesson I'm going to be teaching you how to get your guitar in tune. Now this is a really important skill for a beginner guitar player to get the hang of. Guitars are always going out of tune, and unless you're in tune then pretty much everything you play is going to sound awful, so it's really worth getting the hang of this right from the outset. Personally, I'm tuning up my guitar all the time. More or less every time I sit down to play, I will just quickly check the tuning and make sure everything is sounding as good as it possibly can. Now, before we get started, you're going to need to know the names of the strings on the guitar so we know what notes we're going to be tuning to. So let me take you through the string names. I'm going to start with the thickest string, which is the low E. Then we've got A string, we have D, G, B, and E. Notice there are two E's. We've got high E, which is the skinniest one, and low E, which is the thickest one. And it's worth committing the names of those strings to memory straight away, I think, and as luck would have it, there are a few good mnemonics to help you do that. A popular one at the moment seems to be Eddie 8 Dynamite Goodbye Eddie, which I quite like. That's for E-A-D-G-B-E, Eddie 8 Dynamite Goodbye Eddie. Another one I sometimes use is Every Angry Dinosaur Growls Before Eating. And there are many more, some of which are too risque for me to go into right now. Let me show you a couple of ways to get your guitar in tune. The first method is going to be to tune up to somebody else or to something else that is already in tune. So maybe you've got a friend who has a guitar that you can tune up to. Maybe there's a piano or a keyboard around the house that you can use. In this case, you're going to be tuning up to me. I've already got this guitar in tune. I'm going to go through the strings on my guitar. You're going to play the strings on your guitar and get them to match up, basically. So, for instance, I'll play the low E string on my guitar. You'll play the same string on your guitar. If the note on your guitar is too low, you're going to want to turn the tuning peg to bring the string up to the right pitch. If the note on your guitar is too high, you're going to want to slacken your string off to bring it down until it matches the note you're hearing on my guitar. So let's give it a go. Obviously you can stop this film at any point if you need a bit more time to hear the notes and to adjust them. We're going to start with the low E string. And the next string down is A. Then we have D. And G. B. And E. As I say, if you need to just go back over those notes, just rewind the tape and give yourself a bit more time to do it. But with any luck, you should now be in tune. Now, what if you're not? What if that method hasn't worked for you? Now, in my experience, a lot of beginners might struggle to tune up like that, simply because they haven't developed their ear yet to the stage where they're sensitive to different pitches. You might hear a note and not be sure whether it's higher or lower than another note, which is absolutely fine. It's nothing to worry about, because I think you'll find that your ear is something which develops over time, and the longer you've been playing guitar, the more sensitive you'll become to tuning. But that doesn't help us very much right now, when all we want to do is get our guitar in tune. So that's where my second tuning method comes in, which is to get yourself one of these, an electronic guitar tuner, which is by far the best way to get in tune, to my mind, whether you're a beginner or an experienced player. It's super accurate. It's really easy and quick once you've got the hang of it. So get yourself a tuner. This is just it's a Korg CA30, which I've had for a few years. It's very cheap, and very accurate and easy to use. These days, of course, you could just get a tuner app on your phone. There are loads of those out there, most of which work in more or less the same way as dedicated hardware tuners. One thing I would say is avoid the sort of freebie or really cheap phone app tuners, some of which I've seen which are absolutely rubbish and don't work at all. It's probably worth spending 3 or 4 quid and getting one that's decent and does the job properly. So what I like to do is I'll take you through the process of getting in tune using one of these tuners. So let's go to a close-up of that. So the tuner I'm using here is just an app on my phone. This particular app is called Guitar Toolkit, which I quite like. It seems to be very accurate and it's got a nice clear display. But it doesn't really matter what tuner you're using. You could use an app, you could use a hardware tuner. They all work in much the same way. You're going to have a needle of some kind or a pointer, and the idea is to get that pointing straight upwards, which will mean that the note is in tune. If the needle is over towards the left, it means you're flat, that the string on your guitar isn't tight enough, so you're going to need to tune it up. If the needle is over towards the right, it means you're sharp, and you need to loosen the string off on your guitar to bring it to the right pitch. In addition to the pointer, you're probably going to have some lights as well. This tuner has got a green light at the top which comes on when the note is correct. To the left of that there's a light indicating that a note is flat, and to the right there's a light indicating that a note is sharp. Couple of things you might need to watch out for just before we get started tuning. Make sure, if there's an option, that your tuner is set to standard guitar tuning. I know that this tuner has several settings for alternate tunings and settings for ukulele and banjo. You don't want any of that. You want standard guitar tuning. And again, if there's an option, make sure your tuner is calibrated to A440. You don't need to worry too much about what that means. Just make sure it's set to 440, and it means that everything's going to be at the correct concert pitch. So I've got here a horribly out of tune guitar, and I'm just going to take you through the process of getting it back in tune again. I'm going to start with the thickest string, the low E string. As I play that, the tuner's telling me that it's an E, but the needle is way over towards the left, meaning the note is flat and the string isn't tight enough. So just as I play that note, I'm going to tighten the string. I'm going to turn its tuning peg anti-clockwise. You can see the tuner responding. It's close. There we go, the needle's pointing straight up. The green lights come on, so that string is in tune. Next string is the A string. Now that string is sharp, the needle is over towards the right, so I'm going to loosen this string off. I'm going to just turn the tuning peg clockwise. There we go. In tune. Next string is the D string. Now I'm playing the D string, but the tuner is telling me that it's a G. And this is something you've got to be a little bit careful of when you're tuning up using a tuner. And you've got to watch out that the tuner is tuning to the right note. In this case, my D string is way too sharp, and the tuner thinks that it's a G. So I'm just going to have to loosen this string off quite a lot until the tuner says D, which it is saying now. And keep tuning down. Until it's in tune. There we go. So that's just something to watch out for, particularly if your guitar is very out of tune. Your tuner might sense the wrong note, so you're just going to have to tune your string up or down until it's reading the note you're supposed to be tuning to. So let's carry on. We've got G string. It's a bit sharp. Just going to loosen that off a bit. A bit too far. There we go, that's in tune. The B string, that's flat. I'll tighten that up. There you go. And finally the high E string, that's flat again, so I'm going to tighten that one up. There we go, beautiful and in tune. I will see you again very soon for another lesson when we will actually be making some music.